Hello, is anyone there? This is Grimm Grinner, on all channels.
Infected attacks rampant in the GAT. The government failed. Unified into the corporation.
Have a safe day.
Desolation. An endless wasteland.
Nothing but static.
Searching for a shred of hope.
Welcome to the Wastes.
Good morning, shit, wait, stay still, you're all... Fuck, wait a second. Good morning, Wasteland. This is Grimm Grinner broadcasting on all channels. No, I wasn't. I'm sorry. Sorry, Wasteland. This broadcast might be a bit unconventional, as I'm testing some things out with the new friend I'm bringing back from the Tinker. I've been gone these past couple weeks and have so many things to catch up on, but I might as well let you all know what's been up since I last transmitted. So, the trip to meet the Tinkerer was a bit longer than I expected, and happened to cut through some interesting areas, including a few feral swarms that just happened to be making their way south, but I made it there with a little more than a few bumps and scrapes from just, random weather patterns hitting me on the way. Of course, that was the easy part. Convincing the Tinkerer I was friendly was a whole different ordeal, even with the info I had from Jailbreak. I guess that should have been expected, but it was definitely a rough start. Once I had convinced him I was safe, and that I was who I said I was, since he had been told to expect me by Jailbreak, we were all good to go. I was allowed access, and the traps in the way were disabled to let me pass. Took some time checking out the place while the Tinkerer got everything activated again, and it's about what I expected, surprisingly. If anything, slightly more organized. Of course, I still didn't know why I had been sent out there, but didn't really have to wonder long, since Tinkerer got right down to bronze tactics or something like that. Turns out, JD has actually been trying to help the Tinkerer with reformatting and repurposing an old corporate security robot, and trying to turn it into a sort of small traveling radio relay for me. The rub of doing something like this is that the parts required needed to be scavenged and, in more than a few instances, stolen from some corporate scrapyards, which is trickier than one would expect. The security details posted are a lot stronger than your standard creep, not quite elites though. That's because older corporate tech uses parts and components that are a bit more, I want to say, functional for the kind of stuff that most Wastelanders are able to use, so they want to keep it out of our hands. Newer stuff usually requires special access codes and identification markers, that kind of thing, so they don't keep it under as tight of a lock and key anymore. Now, why was I required out there, you may ask? No, not you, bud. Come on. Well, being that this little project was intended to make something for me, my services were something that would prove useful in getting the last few components needed, especially the new personality chips for the Tinkerer to reprogram and get this guy functioning. Of course, that wasn't a particularly easy task, since breaking into this kind of a secure facility has never really been on my radar. I've heard far too many stories about scavengers who tried and ended up hauled off to the tower. And considering I've avoided that fate for this long, I'm not about to let myself get captured and taken anywhere near the GAT, and definitely not the Tor District. I will go into more details about the plan I hatched with the Tinkerer, but I also really don't want anyone else out there trying a heist like this, especially considering how dangerous it was, and that's even with the tech I was provided to help with some of the security in there. But I did get in there, got what was needed, along with some extra shiny bartering pieces, of course, and got the hell out of there. Once I got back to the compound that the Tinkerer is set up in, then I got to play the waiting game while he did what he does best, tinkering. Took a couple of days, in which I busied myself with an odd little gaming system I was able to convince the Tinkerer to trade to me, which honestly was worth about every bit of scrap I gave him for it. But after all that, the Tinker presented me with this wonderful new buddy, Scrapper. Yeah, bud, that's you. He's a bit more rough and tumble looking than the standard shell he was built from, but he's a pretty handy little bot to have out there, aren't you? Scrapper here is outfitted with a slightly better transmitting beacon, meaning that if he's out with me on a run, I can broadcast almost as if I'm back in the bunker and be on all channels, as opposed to whatever frequencies I can manage to pick up on my current gear. He's also good as a kind of smaller scout in case of any ferals, since they don't seem to pay any attention to tech, what with it not smelling like meat. Actually, now that I think about it, I could probably outfit you with a small ray gun attachment to help with more, like, raiders or beams or anything. Yeah, pew-pew, bud. Luckily, the Tinker also tossed me an extra transmission beacon, so I'm able to rig up the bunker with some better signal when we get back. Just stopped in an outpost on the outskirts of, well, I won't say where right now, but it's on the way back home. Gotta charge Scrapper's solar cells and do some bartering before making the rest of the trip. Who knows? Might even pick a fight or two on the way. Feeling a bit rebellious today. This has been Grimm Grinner, broadcasting on all channels. Hey bud, you want to do the honors? See you in the wastes. Welcome to The Waste is a Wasteland podcast brought to you by Edward Grimm Grinner Hutchinson, but made possible by Wastelanders like you. If you'd like to support the show in a fun way or get some merch, check me out on Patreon or on Etsy. The links to both of those, as well as all my social media, can be found at linktree.com/welcome to the wastes. See you in the wastes.